What if one day could change the way an entire country thinks, travels, and protects itself? Even though most of us weren't alive during the event, it still affects us today in our government, airports, and ideas about safety. On September 11th, 2001, nearly 3,000 people were killed in coordinated terrorist attacks involving hijacked planes targeting the Twin Towers and the Pentagon. There was another plane that we're not exactly sure what it was supposed to be targeting, but the passengers were able to take control of the cockpit and were able to crash it in a field in Pennsylvania. The shock of that day changed how Americans felt and redirected the country's future. Three big changes I'm going to talk about are how the government reorganized national security, how airport travel became stricter and more advanced, how American society and foreign policy shifted. I was fortunate enough to be able to go to New York and was able to visit where the Twin Towers were my 8th grade year. And whenever I was there, this is what it looked like. There's like two of these because there's two towers, and there's names all around of people who were involved in the incident. Alright, so let's jump straight into my first point. In her 2019 History.com article, the Office of Homeland Security is founded. The History.com editor explains that President George W. Bush created the first Office of Homeland Security less than a month after the attacks, saying it was designed to coordinate national efforts to prevent future terrorism. In its 2023 webpage, Creation of the Department of Homeland Security, the department states that DHS was formed by combining 22 federal agencies into a single department to improve communication and protect the nation more effectively. DHS, or the Department of Homeland Security, was created to help agencies communicate better and prevent terrorist attacks more effectively. In its 2025 article, U.S. Patriot Act, Britannica explains that the act expanded law enforcement powers to monitor calls, emails, and financial records, noting that supporters saw it as necessary for safety, while critics believed it threatened personal privacy. This act became controversial because supporters believed it increased safety, while critics thought it threatened personal privacy. While national security was transformed on a government level every day, Americans felt major changes, especially when it came to air travel. Before 9/11, airport security was mostly handled by private companies with fewer restrictions. After the attacks, the U.S. created the Transportation Security Administration to bring more federal control and much stricter rules. After the attacks, the U.S. created the Transportation Security. In an NPR report titled "How Air Travel Has Changed Since 9/11," Seth explains that the TSA introduced new rules such as removing shoes and limiting liquids soon after the attacks to increase passenger safety. In its 2021 article, a look at how airport security has evolved post 9/11, Philadelphia International Airport states that airports added new technology like 3D CT scanners, which allowed officers to rotate digital images of carry-on bags for better screening. So whenever you go to the airport now, you have to put your bag on this like conveyor belt thing, and then it'll go through this scanner, and the officer over here is able to look on his screen and rotate it to make sure that you have nothing that shouldn't be brought on a plane. Reinforced cockpit doors, more air marshals, and stricter baggage rules all came from the lesson learned on 9/11. The effects of 9/11 didn't stop at airports. The attacks also reshaped American society and the nation's role in the world. Americans experienced increased fear and uncertainty after the attacks, which changed the national mindset around safety. Unfortunately, discrimination against Muslims and Middle Eastern individuals increased due to stereotypes and fear. The U.S. launched the War on Terror, including war in Afghanistan and Iraq, which had long-lasting global effects. Americans' foreign relationship military strategies, and defense spending all shifted dramatically due to the attack. First responders from 9/11 became national symbols of bravery, and their sacrifices are still honored today. Transportation. All of these changes, governmentally, socially, and personal, show just how deeply 9/11 reshaped the United States, which brings me to my conclusion. The 9/11 attacks did more than damage buildings. They reshaped the country in long-lasting ways that still affect us today. The government responded by creating the Department of Homeland Security and passing laws like the Patriot Act, transforming national security operations. Airports changed immediately, leading to the modern travel experience with TSA, officers, scanners, and stricter rules. Personally, whenever I had to go through this, it was kind of scary, but not really, because I knew I hadn't done anything wrong. So 9/11 influenced how Americans think and act, affecting foreign policy, contributing to long wars overseas and shifting views of safety and risk. Even though our generation wasn't alive during the event, its impacts is felt in everyday life, from airport procedures to conversations about counterterrorism and privacy. Understanding these changes helps explain how America functions today and encourages us to learn from the past. Thank you all for listening, and I hope you are able to learn something new about 9/11 today.